expected that I would lose a bit of weight because I wasn't going to be eating so much junk anymore. But I didn't expect to lose as much as I did and as fast as I did. That was a big surprise to me.
Welcome to How I Lost It, where we learn the stories behind some of the biggest weight loss successes. I'm Marley Ficalora. This is sponsored by the Produce Section Challenge, where you can learn to eat affordable and healthy meals at producesectionchallenge.com to join in and begin your journey towards a healthier and happier life. Now, let's begin our interview. Hey everyone, I'm about to go live with Andrew Taylor, the Australian man who lost over 115 pounds by only eating potatoes for an entire year. This is going to be an amazing interview. We're just waiting for Andrew to join us. He should be joining us any second to talk about how he only ate potatoes and what he is currently eating now that he has transitioned off of that diet. All the way from Australia. Thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Definitely. Well, almost as exciting as you eating potatoes for an entire year. I think that is, one, it's truly amazing because a lot of people would think that it was impossible, but you did it and you look great. And a lot of people come on here and, they go through Facebook and Instagram and there's all these different diets and fads, but probably no one would guess that you could only eat potatoes and lose 115 pounds.
Yeah, and before I did it, I thought it was impossible too.
Yeah.
But we got there one meal at a time, one day at a time. We made it through the year, and it was not nearly as boring as I thought it was going to be. It changed my life, and I'm really obviously very happy that I did it.
Yeah, that's great. And so I did a little research on you, and obviously everyone's seen you. You were all over the news, all over Australia, and even here in the United States. I think whenever I told anyone, I'm bringing on the guy who ate potatoes, everyone knew who you were. But I saw you talked about how Dr. McDougall is one of the people that you saw that was talking about, he talks about the starch diet and eating all the root and tubers. And he talks about potatoes and how, countries lived off of potatoes for a long time, and that's why the potato famine caused such a travesty over in Europe. So how did you take his word and then turn it into something that you did and implemented it? And were you afraid that could it actually last for a whole year?
Yeah, well, it started with an idea that I realized that I was a food addict, and I figured that, if an alcoholic or a drug addict or any other kind of addict should quit food entirely, I should quit their drug, entirely, then it seemed reasonable to me that maybe a food addict should try to quit food. So that was where the idea started from. And obviously you can't quit food entirely though. So I started wondering if it would be possible to maybe find one food that I could eat exclusively and quit everything else, and thereby get as close as possible to just quitting food, treating food addiction with abstinence. So that was the idea. And the first thing I did when I had that idea was to get on Google and start searching for if there was a perfect human food that I could eat and quit everything else. And so I searched that on Google, and the first thing that came up was a YouTube video by, it was about a 4-minute video, I think, called Potatoes, the Perfect Food by Dr. John McDougall. And so I watched that, and that really sent me down the rabbit hole of research and interest and intrigue. And it started off a good long period of research for me, just to get it clear in my head that what I was going to do was safe and reasonable and all of those sorts of things. And then the rest is history.
Did you read any scientific studies? Did you look at any journals? What was some other stuff because obviously it's a big commitment to go a whole year eating just potatoes, and you want to have the best research to put yourself in the safest position when you do something like that. What were some of the other things you looked at other than McDougall?
Yeah. So McDougall was he was the catalyst, I would say, but he wasn't the only thing by a long stretch. For 6 weeks, I spent hours every day doing research. I read a lot of scientific journals. I read books and watched lectures from nutrition scientists online. yeah, there was all sorts of research I did, but most of the research I did was from scientific journals. And I have a science background myself. I've got a degree in applied sports science. So, you know, I'm not, I'm not a qualified nutrition scientist or anything like that, but at least I've got a scientific background, which allows me to, you know, interpret study design and interpret results and data and those sorts of things. You know, at least I know what I'm looking at with all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I did do a lot of reading of journals, and that was the main sort of research I did. Yeah.
So let's talk about what happened before the potato diet, because the potato diet obviously had amazing results. You documented the whole thing. You know, 1 entire year eating potatoes, 115 plus pounds lost. But let's talk about what happened before that. What were you eating that got you into a position that you felt like you weren't healthy, that you gained all that weight? Kind of what was your day-to-day diet that you were eating before the potatoes?
Yeah, I was vegan for a long time before, which most people don't know and are surprised to hear, because I wasn't the stereotypical, you know, skinny, fragile vegan that people tend to think of. Yeah. Which of course we all know that's wrong, but that is the stereotype that people have of vegans. So I was vegan, yeah, for 9 years before.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, junk food vegan. So I was pretty severely clinically depressed, and I didn't really, you know, I was lacking in motivation to do anything healthy. So yeah, it was a typical junk food diet, but the vegan version of it, that's all. So, you know, pizza, chips, ice cream, chocolate, whatever, cookies, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it can get tricky. You know, I've been vegetarian my entire life, and I've been vegan for the past few years. And it can be tricky because so many things now, more than in the past, even though you've been doing it for 9 years, which is really impressive. That's before a lot of people, you know, and all these documentaries started coming out and changing many people to plant-based diets. But a lot of these people, like, there's so many things that are vegan that you don't even realize are vegan, and how many things that can be vegan. And oil is really, like, pretty much in everything. You can fry anything to make it unhealthy. You start to figure that out later on as you go through the course of veganism. But yeah, I know a lot of people that become vegan and gain a lot of weight, which is tricky because a lot of people become vegan for health reasons, and they want it. Like, obviously there's multiple benefits. There's the animals, the environment, and the health reasons. But people who come for the health reasons and want to lose weight because they see plant-based diets and the results of some people like you, for example, you lost 115 pounds. They see your results and they say, oh wow, I go vegan, I'm gonna lose a ton of weight. But sometimes it goes in the reverse and they gain a ton of weight because they think just because it's vegan, it's okay, you can eat it. It's almost like calories don't exist anymore.
Yeah. That's it. And yeah, I went vegan not for health reasons. I went vegan for ethical reasons, for, you know, for the animals.
Yep.
And when I first went vegan, there was no Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, and you know, I didn't know anyone who was vegan. So actually, I was vegan for 5 years before I met another vegan.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. But when I first went vegan, I did lose weight initially because I didn't really know. I didn't have a lot of resources to, you know, guide me or whatever. I just went and ate fruit and vegetables and beans and rice, and I lost weight, but I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. I just went, cool, I'm vegan and I'm losing weight and I'm feeling great and it's amazing. And then after a while I started discovering all the vegan junk food that you could get, not because I went looking for it. I, you know, just gradually, bit by bit, I would notice something in the shop. Oh wow, this ice cream's vegan, I'll get some of that or whatever. And, you know, gradually over time, I went the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I mean, that's amazing that you made that change for ethical reasons before so many other people did. And I always say, like, it doesn't matter when in your journey that you make the change. It's just that you wake up or that you find out, or you at least look into it and see what you can do, not only for your body, but for the world and the animals as well. So that's great.
That's it.
This is definitely, I definitely want to stay on the health side. We'll definitely talk about the other parts that are extremely important. Obviously, that's why I've done it my whole life and everything as well.
Yeah.
But there are so many things that can help both vegans and non-vegans in terms of, you know, getting rid of processed foods, getting rid of oils. So I want to talk more about when you were eating the potato diet. I saw that you did a variety of different things. Did you think about limiting it to one potato, or did you do sweet potatoes? white potatoes, yellow potatoes? Did you do all the potatoes?
Yeah, I just had all kinds of potatoes. My initial idea was that it was going to be just white potatoes, but yeah, like I said, I thought it was impossible. Even when I decided to do it, I wanted to have a try, but I really honestly didn't think I'd be able to do it. So yeah, early on I decided, I think after a week, I decided to allow sweet potato as well, just to make it a little bit easier and make it more likely that I would actually succeed in the year. But I didn't eat much sweet potato. It was probably like, I don't know, once or twice a week I ate sweet potato, and the rest of it was mostly just white potato. I just ate sweet potato just, for a little bit of a change up every now and then.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a lot of benefits of sweet potatoes as well. That's why I was just wondering, because sweet potatoes do have, nutritional differences than white potatoes or yellow potatoes. And there's so many different types of potatoes. I think people are surprised when they start to eat fruits and vegetables, just how much variety there is. There's not just one carrot, there's like 1,000 carrots. And that's kind of the fun part about it. So when someone says, well, you only eat potatoes, but there's so many different types of potatoes, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, most of what I ate was just, I ate, orange sweet potatoes and 2 or 3 different kinds of normal potatoes, and that was pretty much all of what I ate. Just because I got all my potatoes at the same shop, and I just got whatever they had in stock and whatever was cheapest. Yeah.
How much money did you save eating on this diet? Because a lot of people probably don't think about it. They think about, oh, you lost 115 pounds, but how much money did you save? You must have saved a fortune.
Yeah, well, I saved more than most people would, because I started on January 1st, and from about halfway through February, I had all my potatoes supplied to me for free. Once the story got out in the news and everything, yeah, these local potato people decided to just give me all my potatoes for free. I guess it was thanks for all the good publicity. And yeah, but before that, I was spending less than $5 Australian per day on potatoes. And then obviously after that, it was just free for the rest of the year. So that was good.
And you didn't limit yourself how much you ate, right? You ate an unlimited amount of potatoes?
No, yeah, it was I had 3 rules. The first rule was medical supervision. And that was just to make sure that, I was confident that everything was going to be okay. But I just, an insurance policy just to make sure that I was on top of things. So rule number 1 was the doctor. Rule number 2 was eat only potatoes with, minimal condiments. And so, yeah, salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of ketchup or barbecue sauce, but very, very minimal condiments. And then rule number 3 was eat as much as I felt like, whenever I felt like it. And that was it. It really was that simple. I get questions all the time from people about, I am 6'2" and 218 pounds. How many should I eat per day? And it's the same for everybody. The rules don't change. It's always just eat as much as you feel like, whenever you feel like it. And I think the rule would be the same for your produce section challenge as well. It should, I imagine, I don't know how, I probably don't know enough about what you're doing exactly, but I imagine it would just be that. If you're only eating from the produce section, you should be able to eat as much as you like whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is that simple. And that's part of the beauty of this whole food plant-based way of eating, is that it just removes so much thought and so much decision making and decision fatigue from day-to-day life, that you don't have to worry about, hey, I've already had 4 potatoes and I'm still hungry. Is it okay to have another one? Well, yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Just if you feel like eating, eat. It's all good.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting that you bring that up, because a lot of people are so stuck on the calories. And it can go both ways. Either one, you're trying to limit your calories so that you're not above a certain number. But then there's also the other people that are thinking they're not getting enough calories, because it's drilled in your head that you have to have 2,000 calories per day. So when you're eating whole food plant-based, you get full much faster. And people don't even expect that. They see, how I can eat like 1,000 of those things, but once they start to eat it, and they start to realize how much fiber there is in all this food and how full you get. Yes, you can eat as much as you want, but let your body tell you when you're full.
Yeah. Your body really is a beautiful machine, and your body knows when you give it the right fuel. And the potatoes and the produce section is the right fuel. When you put the right fuel in, your body knows exactly what to do with it. And you just need to trust that you don't need to think about things anymore. Your body's going to figure it out, and your body's going to communicate with you and tell you exactly what to do. And if you have one of those days where you think, I feel like I need to eat more, but I'm not hungry, but I'm stressing, so I want to stuff more in, forget about it. Just okay, accept that today you're not going to hit the calories that you, I don't even track calories at all, but for the people that do, just accept that today you're not going to hit the calories. And if that was a mistake, then tomorrow your body will go, hey, we didn't eat enough yesterday. Let's make him extra hungry today.
Yeah.
And you'll make up for it tomorrow because your body will just go, well, we need to eat more. So let's just turn up the hunger signals a bit and we'll get more calories that way. So yeah, just eat good quality, unprocessed whole plant foods, and yeah, your body really will figure it out for you.
Yeah, it does tell you pretty quickly. And one of the coolest things I think about your challenge is that a lot of people, especially in the United States, are so scared of carbs. And they I mean, carbs is very broad. It's like people say all sugars or all carbs. You know, it's really broad, and it's not a great way to look at anything. But potatoes would definitely fall in line with things that people would say you can't eat. You'll get really fat if you eat them. And you kind of broke that myth.
Well, yeah, if before I did all the research that I did, I would have thought, well, yeah, of course, potatoes are going to make me get fat. I'm not going to do that. But you know, after I watched that McDougall video that we talked about, and then did all my research, then yeah, I was 100% confident that I wouldn't gain weight. I wasn't trying to lose weight. That was another part of it, which is a psychological aspect of it as well. But my aim was never to lose weight. It was just to deal with my addiction issues and change the way I thought about and related with food. So yeah, I hadn't really put a lot of thought into whether or not I would lose weight. I expected that I would lose a bit of weight because I wasn't going to be eating so much junk anymore. But I didn't expect to lose as much as I did and as fast as I did. That was a big surprise to me. So yeah, it was cool. It was a good side effect, no doubt about that. And yeah, back to the carbs thing, I would agree when people say don't eat carbs. I would agree, don't eat carbs. But when we talk about, you know, potatoes are not carbs. Table sugar is carbs, just pure sugar. That is carbs. That's all there is in it. It's just carbs. But potatoes are not carbs. Potatoes have a lot in them that is not carbs. They're not just carbs. They've got protein. They've got fat. They've got vitamins, nutrients. They've got high water content. They've got fiber. They've got all this other stuff. To just say that they're carbs is just wrong. They're not carbs. That's what people call them, but they're wrong. You know, they contain a lot of carbs, but they contain a lot of other stuff as well, which is carbs are good for you and all this other stuff is good for you as well. So, yeah, if people take, you know, if you want to keep it technical, then things that are just carbs, you shouldn't eat because that's highly processed junk. But, you know, potatoes are so much more than just carbs.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of crazy that we now look at sugar the same as fruit. You know, candy is not the same as fruit. You can't put them in the same category. Fruits are extremely beneficial to you. We need to eat a lot of fruits, and the sugars are processed completely different in our bodies, especially if you eat the whole fruit. So when people are comparing now candy to fruit, and they're comparing white bread, you know, to potatoes, it's really become very interesting. It's almost like we just take these macronutrients and we kind of just spread them across so many different processed and unprocessed goods that it's made it really kind of tricky to navigate what's good for you and what's bad for you. And that's why this whole food plant-based, I think, is the best thing, is because it kind of eliminates that. It said, hey, look, if it's a real thing and it's made by the earth, then it's probably pretty good for you.
Yeah, and we've got, you can go the other way even with protein. Like everyone thinks, and they're right, protein is good. Protein's a good thing, and we should make sure that we get adequate protein and all of that sort of stuff. But you know, when we talk about food and you label with macronutrients, like you just said, when we talk about protein, people think meat, and even to the point where they don't, I don't know how it is in the US, but in Australia, they almost don't even call it meat anymore. They just call it protein, and it's like, no, this is not protein. You know, meat has a lot of fat in it, and it has a lot of other bad stuff which we don't need to go into. But meat is, you know, there's a whole heap of junk in there to go along with some protein, which, you know, is also mostly junk when you're talking about it in meat form. But, you know, we need to get away from these labels where we're just labeling food as a macronutrient and as though that's all there is. You know, food is food. It's not protein, it's not fat, it's not carbohydrates, it's just food. And when you change your mindset to change your mindset about those sorts of things, then, you know, the world changes really, because when you think about protein, there's never been a documented case of anyone with a protein deficiency ever who has gotten enough calories in their diet on natural foods. It just doesn't happen. So it's not something we need to worry about. And yeah, same with fat, same with calcium. You know, dairy products are not dairy products anymore. They're just calcium. And yeah, it's just we need to change the way we think about that, because it's really leading us astray, this focus on individual nutrients. We should just be focusing on eating good food.
Yeah, it is interesting that you mentioned that protein, because I heard that my whole life being an athlete. People would always say, where do you get your protein? Imagine how much bigger you could be. Imagine how much stronger you can be. Even though I was already the strongest and fastest on all my teams, and I was already excelling athletically, they always said you could be even better and better. And the other thing that you said, how they labeled protein, when I was little, I would always go to restaurants and they would have that section, which is proteins, which is essentially your entree. And all the proteins were things that I couldn't eat. It was meat and fish. But you would think that I wasn't eating any proteins because it wasn't listed, right? I was eating the sides. But the sides, lo and behold, were actually the healthy ones. And we overeat protein, which can cause lots of problems to our liver. You know, anytime you overeat anything, you can cause some problems. You know, what you did is kind of like what I was trying to do is just kind of open people's eyes, lead through example. Instead of just saying, oh, look, you can eat for 365 days on potatoes, you went and you put it into play and you ate 365 days of just potatoes, which I think is so cool. It's very honorable that you did that and you led by example rather than just talking. So after that, after you ate those potatoes, I saw your little video. You had a tofu scramble as your first meal. Very interesting choice. I love tofu scrambles too, but it was an interesting choice for your first meal after 365 days of potatoes.
Yeah, it wasn't actually my choice. I just, when I got to the end of the year, I really, so many people wanted to know what I was craving and all of that, and how much, you know, how much of this I was going to eat, how much of that, and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, at the end of the year, a whole year of nothing but potatoes, I was just happy eating potatoes, you know. There was nothing that I was like, yeah, I really want to eat this or really want to eat that or whatever. There was just nothing. It didn't, no food was interesting to me, and I was happy that way. But at the same time, I didn't want to just keep going with only potatoes forever. I wanted to start eating other things, but there was really nothing that stood out to me that was like, this has to be my first meal. And but what actually happened was we had a little party to celebrate, a breakfast, probably the first party in the history of human beings to happen on the morning of the 1st of January. But yeah, so at breakfast time, we had a little party and it was catered, and I just said to the caterer, just make me whatever you feel like making, I don't care. And that's what she came out with.
What day did you start to only crave potatoes throughout the process?
Well, that's hard to pinpoint what day it was. But I would say, yeah, the first 2 weeks of it were really, really hard. It was really like the hardest thing I've ever done for 2 weeks. It was just a real struggle, but I got through that. And it started to be, I wouldn't say easy, but I got in a groove really after a couple of weeks. I was just in a groove, and yeah, I just rolled along and just kept on doing it. And to the point where I just was totally happy eating only potatoes and didn't crave anything else. Or, I don't know, maybe that was between a month and 2 months, I'd guess, that I just had no cravings for anything else. But I can't really pinpoint. But yeah, that'd be around about then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting though, right? I think that was one of the things that kind of blew my mind, and a lot of people that follow me, the fact that your cravings do change so drastically. Were you so surprised that you weren't like, you were walking by things that maybe before you go, oh, that's so delicious, to now thinking, whatever?
Yeah, definitely. It was, yeah, my mind totally changed. And, you know, a good example is, when I first started and I would go to the lunchroom at work and there's a birthday on or something, you know, someone's always having a birthday, especially when you try to start a new diet. Everyone's bloody having a birthday, and, cake, right? And there's donuts and cake everywhere because every bastard's having a birthday. But so it felt like every day there was a new birthday at work, and I was just angry about it. I was like, I can't eat this. I just want a cake. Why can't I have a cake? And it was pissing me off, you know. And but I stuck with it and I didn't have any of it. And then I remember noticing after a few weeks, I was like, oh, there's another birthday, so what? I don't really care. You know, they can have their cake. It doesn't matter to me. I was sort of indifferent to it. And the cake was like, take it or leave it. It didn't matter. And then I remember maybe it was 3 months in, I remember another one of those birthday things, and I remember looking around the table and everyone had their cake and whatever, and I had my potatoes, and I was amazed that I started actually feeling sorry for everyone that was eating cake, and I started feeling bad for them, and it was like, you know, these poor people don't know what they're missing out on, that they're depriving themselves by eating the cake, and I'm sure they all felt like I was depriving myself, but I looked at them and I was like, these people's lives could be so much better, and they could be having such a more fun time like I am if they just stopped depriving themselves by eating cake. And I really honestly felt sorry for them in that moment, and it stayed that way ever since. When I see people eating junk food, I don't envy them. I still have not eaten cake. I've not had a single taste of cake, and it's, you know, 2 3/4 years since then. And there's nothing in me that goes, yeah, let me have that crap that's going to poison me, you know. It just doesn't. Well, my mindset is totally different.
I think that's so interesting. That's a great point that you bring up, because so when you're in the grocery store every single day and you're in the produce section and you check out, there's the conveyor belts where you put your food on. And so I see a lot of people in the last year putting their food on the conveyor belt behind me, and I see a lot of Doritos and Fritos and Coca-Cola and Sprite and, you know, cakes and donuts and all of these things behind me. And I look at them and I look at the person and I want to help them. And that's one of the reasons why I do this. Because I feel the same way as you. It's a trap, you know. It might taste good for 2 seconds now, but if you can get off of it, you're going to feel much better, and it's going to taste terrible. And when you go back and you try stuff like that after being, you know, whole food plant-based, it really doesn't taste good. You realize maybe your mind tells you, hey, what are you doing? Don't touch that stuff. But
they just, and it's just, it gets in the way of everything. You know, and we're all the same. Everyone in the whole world. There's not a person who exists that doesn't want to improve themselves in some way or another. And for too many of us, the way that they most want to improve themselves is to, you know, lose some weight and get fit. That's, you know, and people's lives will be genuinely improved if they were healthier and fitter. And it's really frustrating to see people that are just depriving themselves of being who they should be and who they deserve to be. You know, people are not living the lives and getting the most out of their lives because they're eating junk. And I get it, because that was me for a long time. And I wish there was some way I could I don't know, swap places with someone for a day or something. I can say, here, have my body, test drive it for a little while, see what you think, and maybe it'll change the way you feel about eating healthy or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I think what you did was great, and I think you helped a lot of people by eating those potatoes, by showing people that it can be easier than we make it, right? It doesn't have to be these gourmet meals or these fancy things. You know, healthy food doesn't have to be challenging. You can just eat potatoes. It can be just that simple, and you can get the results that you want. And I think that's really important, because a lot of people don't know where to start. These people are great people and they really want to do better. It's just the question of, you know, I think as a society as a whole and corporations as a whole, we have to take it upon us to offer better options. And it's getting there, you know, between people like you out there showing people just how easy it can be. I think it helps a lot of people feel more confident.
Yeah, and this was never intended to be anything more than, like I explained earlier, just you know, my own personal attempt to deal with my own food addiction issues. That was all it was ever meant to be. And I really thought it was the most boring thing a person could do, and I never expected to get all the attention that I got. And I certainly never expected to, you know, be able to help anyone else. But I think that for me, that's the best thing about the whole experience, is that, you know, I get thousands of emails from people all over the world that have been helped by what I've done in some way. So that makes everything even better. I couldn't be happier that people you know, I've lost a lot of weight, but you know, there's a lot more weight around the world that has been lost because of what I did than just the weight that's come off my body. So that's really cool.
I think that's great. It's really amazing. So I just want to talk really quickly about what you're eating now that you've switched off of the potato diet. Can you give me some example of your meals? You're eating whole food plant-based, correct?
Yeah, I call it whole food spud based.
Yeah.
So yeah, I eat whole food plant based with an emphasis on potatoes, basically, and I do keep it really simple.
Well, good thing is that we have PB, right? Whole food potato based.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, So yeah, I keep it really simple. Actually, I haven't had any potatoes today. I had a bowl of porridge, oatmeal, I think you call it. So
Yep.
that was a mashed banana and a few chopped up dates and some oats and some light, low-fat soy milk. So that was breakfast. And for lunch, I had hummus, homemade hummus that I made myself with most of a whole celery and a couple of capsicums. You call them bell peppers, I think.
Yeah.
So that was lunch, and for dinner I'm going to have potatoes and spinach with maybe a little bit of sriracha, and that's it. That's my day today.
So it sounds like you've got a really good handle on what to eat. How did you figure that out? Did you learn it while you were eating potatoes? Did you follow some influencers? Did you see what doctors were saying? How did you figure out how to do a pretty balanced whole food plant-based diet? I mean, you're eating oatmeal, which is fantastic to start the morning. The hummus has got a lot of healthy fats. And the celery is obviously, there's so many benefits to eating celery every day. So how did you figure out what to eat on a whole food plant-based?
Yeah, like you said, I've followed some really important, knowledgeable people like Dr. John McDougall and Neil Barnard and Dr. Greger and all these amazing people. Rich Roll. A whole heap of people. There's no one in particular that I say I eat like they eat. It's just there's a whole lot of different people that eat whole food plant-based diets, and everyone's got their own little spin on it. And I just would take ideas from different people and give it a try, and then take what I like and leave what I don't, and just try different things. So the main thing is that I just eat lots of potatoes. Potatoes works for me, so I eat lots of potatoes, and I just add some beans and veggies and some fruit every now and then as well. And I don't really think about it too much. I just try to keep it simple and easy. That's the main thing. Just keeping it simple, keeping it easy, so that I don't really have to spend time in the kitchen that I could be spending doing other things. It's just about fuel. I want to, we've all been blessed with these high performance vehicles, and we need to put premium fuel in them if we want them to work right. So that's what it's all about for me. Just keep this engine humming.
Yeah. And does your family, because it seems like you're a really energetic guy, and you obviously are very personable, you were able to be all over the news, all over the world, and influence so many people. Does your family or your friends, have they adopted a plant-based diet since you've gone and they've seen your results, how great you look?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my wife was already vegan as well, like I was, and of course that means our little boy was as well, and we've got another little boy now too. I eat 100% whole food plant-based, and they eat mostly whole food plant-based. They give themselves what they would call a treat. I would call a punishment every now and then. But they eat mostly whole food plant-based, and I'm not going to. I've got no desire to tell anyone else how to eat. I'm happy that I think it's important that people eat vegan, because that's, diet's not just about you. It's about your impact on the animals and on the planet as well. So I do think it's important that people eat vegan, and beyond that, that's an individual choice. What you do to your own body is your own thing. I do, of course, educate my boy as well. He knows what healthy food is and what not healthy food is. We talk about it because he's 5 years old, but he's a big boy like his dad, and he likes being strong. So we talk about what are strong foods and what are weak foods, and so he knows about it all. And when he wants a cookie, he knows that it's a weak food, and he knows that if he has a cookie, he only has one cookie because he doesn't want to eat too much weak food. He wants to eat all the strong food and just have a little bit of that stuff every now and then. So, so they're mostly whole food plant-based, and every now and then they have a little bit of something else that's vegan junk.
That's a great way to teach your child about the positives and negatives of food, because it can be complex. So talking about like the nutritional values of each food is going to go right over a lot of kids' heads. But strong or weak, in terms of like, this is unprocessed whole foods, this is strong in terms of you're going to be healthier, versus this is cookies or cakes, the processed foods. These are going to make you weaker. I think that's a really cool trick for a lot of people out there that are raising kids vegan, or even raising kids on any diet.
I've been a teacher for a long time, and I'm well practiced at trying to figure out meet students where they're at and figure out what gets them going, and try to tap into that. And I've figured that out with my boy. That is, I do some kettlebell training and push-ups and things like that, and he, for a long time, has liked to join in with me because he wants to be strong like me. He says, not that I think I'm that strong. I'm not strong compared to a lot of people, but I'm a big guy, so I'm stronger than most just because I'm bigger than most people. You got to figure out what it is that turns people on and try to meet them at that level. And it doesn't change for adults or kids or whatever. You just got to meet people where they're at and try to present a message in a way that's going to turn them on,
Yeah, it's all about positive reinforcement, making things simple, encouraging people, not being negative, but being supportive. If you were back, like in your position where you had the opportunity, you were vegan, you had the opportunity to see what McDougall said, what would you say to someone that's either just starting to take this journey or is just looking to live a healthier and happier life?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because, I think people are everyone's on their own journey, and everyone's doing things for different reasons. So it's really hard to say this is the one size fits all answer to that question. But the best way I can answer it is I like to talk as though I'm talking to myself before I started, because I know how I felt in that moment, and I feel like I have an idea of the things that would have helped me personally, but that doesn't mean it's going to help other people. But the main thing I would say to myself is that just forget about the long term. I was stuck on this idea that I was so far behind the 8 ball. I had so much weight to lose. It was such a long road at the end ahead of me that it was like, it felt such a big job that, like, what's the point in starting? It's just such a big job, and it was so daunting, and really, just doing nothing gets you nowhere. So my main thing that I would have said to me was just, it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter. The future just does not matter. Whether you achieve a goal or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. What's important is the process, right? So my behavior was what got me in the spot I was in. That's as simple as that. There's nothing to it. My behavior was what got me to the point where I was morbidly obese and clinically depressed and all of that. And that was the way I treated food. So forget about what the numbers on the scales say. It doesn't matter. What matters is my behavior. My behavior got me into that mess, and it's my behavior that's going to get me out of that mess. So that was all I needed to focus on. And just forget about what's going to happen in the distance and how long the road is and how daunting the task is and all of that, and just focus on my behavior and eat potatoes for breakfast and see what happens, and then get through breakfast and then worry about lunch once breakfast is done, and forget about what you're going to be eating in 364 days from now. Just take it, just live in the moment, That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, no, I think that is an amazing advice. And I always say this too, it's like a little bit every day goes a long way, and it's really hard to look into the future, but it's much easier to look into like your next meal or the next thing you do. Like I do this thing, and I know it sounds kind of funny, but every time I get out of the shower, I do 20 push-ups, and I've done that for like 10 years. And my dad, he has multiple sclerosis and he's having trouble walking. I told him, you don't have to get up and run today. You just got to take a little step every single day. Even lifting yourself up and putting pressure on your legs is a huge win. Like, celebrate your wins. Take it every step. Take small steps, because it's going to take even the best, most amazing athletes. When they get hurt, it could take them 4 to 6 months to recover, and they are in peak physical condition. So it just takes small steps, and don't look at the big picture. Look at the small picture, because it's all going to add up, and you're going to get those results you want. As long as you stick with it. Yeah, I think that's great advice.
yeah, it's all about the process. That's the whole thing. It's about the process. And yeah, forget about numbers, forget about counting, tracking, measuring, whatever. None of it matters. All that matters is what are you putting in your mouth at your next meal. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you get that right, and if you get that right consistently, then, you know, losing weight is inevitable. There's no way, if you follow the produce section challenge or follow the Spud Fit challenge or whatever it is, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to lose weight. You can't not lose weight. It's been proven, you know, just millions of times now, I'm sure, that you just need to just worry about what goes in your mouth and forget about what's going on the scales. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're totally right. And everyone that sticks with it on both of these loses a ton of weight. It's just the hardest, the biggest thing in your way is yourself. You just gotta stay on task and stay focused. Can you tell us a little bit more where we can find you, where anyone who follows me can follow you and check out some of the stuff that you've done and kind of do some research on you?
Yeah, sure. So you just find me at www.spudfit.com. There's a frequently asked questions page. I'm sure there's a lot of questions we haven't answered. So yeah, go and check out the FAQ page there, and hopefully we'll get you some more information on whatever you've missed out on. And yeah, sign up for the newsletter. I send helpful newsletters out and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, go and check that out. And I've actually got a book that will hopefully be coming out in about a week called Whole Food Spud Based. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun too. So go and check that out. And you can pre-order now for a nice discount if you want.
There you go. Check that out. I'm sure that book's amazing. And there's tons of videos about you online. That's one of the coolest things. Like, I was able to find so much about you in just a couple clicks on Google. You just type in Potato Man, or you type in, Andrew Australian Potato.
Yeah, even a couple of years later, I still find it so strange that there's so much information about me online. I'm just some weird guy who ate potatoes. I don't really, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that there's so much interest out there, even all this time after it's finished. But I'm certainly grateful for it, and I'm riding the wave, mate, and hopefully changing some lives along the way.
Yeah, I think you definitely did. Maybe you didn't even realize it while you were doing it, but you were making a huge difference. And that's why people reacted to it. One is because it was honest. You were being honest about what you were doing. You said, hey, I'm going to eat potatoes for a whole year, and you did it. So that honesty and that transparency is definitely resonated, and that's why you touched so many people. And a lot of people, more than we even realize, are really struggling with food addiction, really struggling with depression and pharmaceutical drugs and prescription drugs, and trying just to figure out, how do I live a healthier life? And it can be really confusing when there's so many conflicting reports and data coming out, when you just want to make it really simple, and that's the way to really succeed. All right, so you can check me out too, the Pro Section Challenge, prosectionchallenge.com. I really appreciate you coming all the way from Australia onto the internet, I guess, and joining me. I was definitely inspired by your story, and I'm sure everyone else was too. When I posted this, everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're doing an interview with the potato guy!" So that was exciting. I'm glad that so many people, and that you're so positive. I think that's one thing that's really, really important. Like with the vegan movement, especially, whole food plant-based movement is really, really positive. Being kind to your body, being kind to the animals, and being kind to the environment. And to do that, you truly have to be a kind person through and through. And that's not being mean to other people or being negative. And it's just more about just living life happier and more positive and more stress-free, and maybe eating a little more potatoes. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, mate. It's no one gets helped in any situation by negativity. It just doesn't. No, nothing is made better by negativity, and the bullying that goes on, and I understand why that sort of stuff happens, and I'm certainly not positive and chipper 100% 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I do my best, and if we want the world to be at a better place, then it starts with us, and we should try to do our bit, I guess. Yeah. And I want to thank you as well for I didn't realize how late it is at night there until today. Okay. So yeah, thank you for staying up late, and I've really enjoyed the chat, and yeah, good luck with what you're doing too. The Produce Section Challenge. I think I should have a go at that myself. It sounds like it's a cool thing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope I get to meet you in real life one day, hopefully at an event or you know, our paths cross, or someday I make it to Australia. But
Yeah,
maybe
maybe, who knows? If this book goes well, that is hopefully out next week. You never know. Maybe I'll come and get a book tour done. Who knows?
There you go. Well, I'll be first in line. All right. Well, thanks so much, man. Have an
Thank
amazing
you.
day. Enjoy
Awesome.
your dinner.
All right. Spud up.